You started your journey as a lawyer, but you're now leading the revival of a legacy brand, Tony Roma's, which is known for his ribs. So, what's working for Tony Roma's in the US and what's not?
The food experience is different now. People want something more than food. Robotic server is doing, it's not autonomous. It still requires our servers to come in. It's a runner. It brings the food. Then our servers are still there.
You are making the job more efficient.
Exactly. And you know who's benefiting from that? Our servers, because they're getting more tips. Because we have happy customers.
What works internationally?
In some countries, the cost of labor might be lower.
The bones and burgers concept.
They can get the iconic Tony Roma's ribs under 6 minutes. We serve the pot stickers at the South Asian Oscars party. That brand loyalty, I think that's something we need to build.
What type of marketing is working for you guys?
I will be building the bridge between customers who are nostalgic and with Gen Zs and millennials. In terms of marketing, what's working for us at the moment, we are using social media. That's something that was underutilized.
Sure.
And I think social media is definitely bringing in customers.
So in today's episode, we're going to talk about what does it really take to revive a 50-year-old legacy brand? How do you stay relevant in an ever-changing food industry? And how do you keep up with viral food trends? And my guest today is Meena Haque. We call her Meena. She is the CEO of Tony Roma's, a brand which is based in the US but growing internationally and is transforming under her leadership. She has a background in law and public service. So allow me to welcome Meena Haque.
Hi, Jasmine. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Absolute pleasure. You started your journey as a lawyer, but you're now leading the revival of a legacy brand, Tony Roma's, which is known for his ribs. What is your strategy?
I am still a practicing attorney, so I'm doing this concurrently, practicing law and running Tony Roma's. And I find my strength actually comes from lawyering. When you're reviving a 54-year-old legacy brand, there are many challenges that are outside of the norm. And as a lawyer, we are trained to handle challenges. And my role as a leader in the company is to identify those challenges and convert it into something that is actually beneficial for the franchisees, for the team members, and for the new franchisees who will be joining Tony Roma's.
Tony Roma's has been shrinking in the US, but it's growing globally. How do you see the shift?
This is something that has been happening for almost the last 2 decades in Tony Roma's, because Tony Roma's used to be owned by the Dallas Cowboys back in the 80s and 90s. And those were the heydays of the company. My ultimate goal is to reclaim that glory in the United States, to increase our unit to at least 150 to 170 units by the year 2030 in the United States. So the shift that's happening about growing globally, part of the reason is there have been many market entries that Tony Roma's did very early on. In the Middle East, I think Tony Roma's entered quite early compared to other American brands. And that has an advantageous too, because the advantage is, you know the market worldwide, you know the global challenges, and those lessons, they're not wasted, and which makes us very adaptable because we are so agile in terms of adapting to different markets around the world. In terms of the shift, if we bring 175 units by 2030 in the United States, we will reclaim our old glory. But at the same time, we will continue to grow globally because globally we are very popular.
So what's working for Tony Roma's in the US and what's not?
That's a great question. In the restaurant industry overall, as you have seen post-pandemic, there have been many news of insolvencies, bankruptcies. The food cost is very high. The labor cost is very high. There are tariffs issues, the uncertainty that the restaurant industry had to adjust. In light of all these challenges, the restaurant industry, I think overall, it's hard hit, especially the legacy brands, the legendary brand, because the food experience is different now. People want something more than food. When they walk into a restaurant, they want an experience that they will remember. So you're not only creating like delicious items on your menu, you have to create fun experience for your customers. And that requires continuous research and development. The market is saturated. There are many competitors, franchisees who have been in the system. Because Tony Roma's is a legacy brand, it's a legendary brand. We have had franchise partners who have been in the system for 30 years, for 40 years. And some of those franchise partners, they get very comfortable, like, in running the business that they have been running for all these decades. So from a corporate point of view, even if we want to make those changes, even if we want to be competitive, it's not easy because there's this whole human element of making sure that your relationship with the franchise partners, you're still harmonizing that. And they're not feeling like this is something where you're overwhelming them. So I think those are some of the challenges that as a brand that we have been facing. Because when you're letting the franchise operators run the brand for so long, and there is a resistance to change.
Right. Yeah, always. Right? It's very human. So when you revive, or when you're in the process of revival, I would say the biggest hurdle in your path is convincing people of change. How do you do that?
That's a wonderful question too, because anytime we think about change, right, I will use AI as an example here. We are seeing so many things about AI. When people hear AI, they think ChatGPT.
Right.
But AI has more functions than ChatGPT because it's a change. And it's a change that some people are adapting to it. Some people are accepting. Others are quite skeptic. They're not sure how AI will change our life. And we have seen this trend over and over again. If we think about when internet first came, right? We didn't have internet everywhere.
Right.
I still remember like plugging in those broad wires, right?
Broadband. It was
exactly
called.
Broadband, exactly. And, plugging those in to get the internet. And that was a long time ago. And even with internet, there were people would say, oh, don't believe what you see in internet or don't use internet. I still remember growing up, my parents would put warnings about it. To the point where we just cannot function without internet right now. So that's a change. Those are changes that we have gone through. Slowly, we saw the benefits, how it improves our life. And I think AI will go through the same cycle too. The only difference is the changes that will come with AI will be a lot faster. And it's still hard. Not everyone will see the benefits, right? There are all the skeptics out there.
Right.
So the reason I bring AI as an example, because when I am reviving Tony Roma's, I'm trying to change many policies, many aspects of our operation. And how do I convince my franchisees? And I will give you an example.
Please, yeah.
For example, we decided to implement robotic servers in the United States. We have very few locations left in the US. And I knew that we cannot make it one size fit all. I cannot go to my franchisees and tell them, you are all mandated to implement these robotic servers. I knew there would be backlash. And I also respect the franchisees who have been in the system for so long. So we came up with the idea. We signed a contract with a company that provides robotic server. And we asked for, give us 30 days free demo. Let us offer these to our franchise partners and see who wants to participate. Turns out a couple of our locations wanted to participate.
Oh, they did?
They did. And it was free of cost for the first month. And that was easy for them to give it a try. Interestingly, the participating locations, they all decided to sign long-term contract. They saw the value in those 30 days. And then it's a change, right? And some people decided, no, we're not going to go near robot. And one of the reasons was they thought because it will take away jobs.
Yes. Yeah.
but it's not taking away job. What the robotic server is doing, it's not autonomous. It still requires, our servers to come in. It's a runner. It brings the food. And our servers are still there.
So you still have that one-to-one human experience,
right?
But you are making the job more efficient.
Exactly. And you know who's benefiting from that? Our servers, because they're getting more tips. Because we have happy customers, right? Where the food is being served much more efficiently. The robot server is also saying happy birthday to our customers. So it's enhancing the customer service. So when it comes to change, you have to prove it. I call it micro-proving. You have to prove it at every stage. You just cannot ask the franchisees to implement it. Same with your employees. And I take humongous responsibility of micro-proving that. I try to think it out, both sides of the issue. And how can I roll it out where there will be a wider acceptance?
Got it. So if anyone is watching from the casual dining space, what works internationally?
Internationally, I think American brands overall do very well. Even a lot of people come to me and who say that, hey, we don't see Tony Roma's in here, but we were in Berlin for a meeting and we stopped by at Tony Roma's. And I like to hear stories like that. Like, even customers who are nostalgic about the brand, when they see a Tony Roma's internationally, it brings back memories for them of our brand. So internationally, overall, I think American brands do very well. Depending on the market, we do very well in Europe, in the Middle East, and Asia Pacific. We will be opening 2 additional units later this year in Asia Pacific. In Canada, that's another very popular market. And the other thing internationally is each market is different. In some countries, the cost of labor might be lower, the cost of supply. So the cost that we are facing that's higher in the United States, it's relatively cheaper.
So my question is, when you launch in, let's say, Asia Pacific, do you have to make changes in the menu, or is this like serving a core US experience? Because the brand is known for ribs, right? But different countries or different ethnic groups might have different food preferences. So how does the brand evolve, or how does the brand adapt to these different changes?
So over the 5 decades, Tony Roma's went through a massive evolution of menu. At one point, it was whatever was offered in the United States that was offered in the foreign country. I took the position of that we have to diversify our menu. We need to really pay attention what the local customers would like. At the same time, make it easier for our local franchise operator as well. The new units that are coming up, I think we will be offering not just one set of menu, we will be offering some local items as well.
Got it. And talk to me about the Bones and Burgers concept. I was quite curious when I first read about it.
Tony Roma's Bones and Burgers, it's a sister concept. It's a quick service restaurant. We have one location in Tampa. It's an International Plaza Mall, Tampa. And the rationale behind Bones and Burger was people who love Tony Roma's. It's a full-fledged restaurant. It's a casual dining restaurant, but you can get our ribs, and we have a proprietary grill that makes the ribs under 6 minutes. So if anyone who's visiting Tampa and want to stop by at Bones and Burgers, they can get like the iconic Tony Roma's ribs under 6 minutes in Bones and Burgers.
So it's still sort of adapting to this fast casual space that you serve the same food but faster.
That's correct.
Are there any other changes that you have brought about in the menu since you joined?
Yes, there have been plenty of changes. Part of the reason is I love to see insights and data, what's working, and want to make sure that we keep up with it. But at the same time, not put a very cumbersome obligation on my franchise partners. So with that being said, we launched like quarterly limited time offer menu. We are offering mocktails. And that's something very popular right now, especially with Gen Zs.
Right.
And we're doing some very fun, creative mocktails. We have been serving Thai pot stickers, but with a little bit of Tony Roma's flair. In fact, we served the pot stickers at the South Asian Oscars party in
really?
LA. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yep. So we had the pot stickers, but we also had our iconic kicking shrimp. So that's how we are complementing the brand. Like, we want to make sure the stars of the menu are still present, but at the same time, offering, what works with the current customers. And that's how we're innovating our menu.
So what is your take on these overnight viral food trends and how sustainable are they? What's your experience like?
I love that question. I recently actually wrote a piece on Fortune about that. This is how I see it, especially after coming from Tony Roma's. It was very eye-opening for me. Tony Roma's has been running for 54 years. That's a long time for more than half a century, right? All these viral brands that are coming, we all get excited. I get excited. I have a teenager at home who would send me videos on Instagram and ask me, we should go there and check it out. And we are excited. As a family, we go and we check out those stores. And then sometimes I wonder, how long can these brands keep us excited? Especially when I compare it with Tony Roma's, 54-year-old brand. Wherever in the world I'm going, people are still coming to me and sharing some beautiful memories that are associated with Tony Roma's. It has definitely made it to 54 years, and I want to make sure that it makes it to the next 54 years. So when it comes to these viral brands, I think it's good and bad at the same time, because when you're trending, when you're viral, you're short-sighted. You're not thinking about the long-term goal. You're not thinking how I can grow that will serve for years. How we can create a brand where we have a very loyal customer base. We're not just seeing a trend, coming here, and we'll see another trend and just jump on to that trend and leave it, right? So that brand loyalty, I think that's something we need to build. It's kind of shifting away from the culture now, because we're focusing so much on being viral, being instantaneous. We want everything instantly. And this is us as a society right now. So if I think about brand building, that legacy and that long-term goals, I don't see that much.
Right. And going back to what you said first is consistency, even with brands and like their products, and consistency in delivering the service, the products, the experience. I feel like that's equally a part of the food business as much as a viral food product is.
That's right.
So what type of marketing is working for you guys?
We have a very nostalgic customer base. When it comes to marketing, after I took over as the CEO, one of my goal was that I will be building the bridge between customers who are nostalgic and with Gen Zs and millennials. In terms of marketing, what's working for us at the moment, we are using social media. That's something that was underutilized.
Sure.
And I think social media is definitely bringing in customers. Influencer marketing, I would pay a high premium on influencer marketing, the effectiveness of it. The follower base that each influencer bring, like when we look at the sales graph after an influencer visit, we completely see an uptick.
You do? Okay.
There is a direct correlation between influencer marketing and our sales data. Nowadays, we see the influencers across all industry. I personally believe in the food and beverage industry, the influencers play a pivotal role more than any integrated marketing agency.
Got it. So how do you pick these influencers? Like, what are some of the things that you're looking for?
For influencers, firstly, what we look for is, because Tony Roma is so spread out.
Sure.
We really look into their local follower base. So it's not important that an influencer have 100,000, 200,000 followers. For us, it's about what percentage of that influencer have the local follower where a Tony Roma's is located.
Right. Because you need someone to actually go to the physical location,
right.
unlike a beauty product or unlike another product where you might be able to online order and like ship across state lines. So when you shifted from being the general counsel of the parent company to the CEO, how did you build authority and trust?
When I was the general counsel, and that happened like right after the acquisition in 2021, I was dealing with, collecting unpaid royalty payments, looking into old contracts and trying to see what could be done to make the contracts more robust.
Sure.
Implementing legal policies going forward that will be good for the company, things like that. When I joined Tony Roma's, and I'll give you an example, I still remember this. The board made the decision. They requested me that I should take this over because this is not something I prepared myself. I did not climb up the corporate ladder.
Sure, yeah.
So when I was introduced to the whole team at the time that Meena will become the CEO, I still remember it was virtual meeting. It was over Zoom, a new CEO's being introduced. I still remember looking into everyone's eyes that there were doubts. And, it's a new leadership, new CEO coming, a CEO with no restaurant experience. And I told myself that I need to work extra hard. I need to go an extra mile to build the trust, to show how we can work together. Yes, I'm the CEO, but I don't want to work above them. I want to work with them.
Right.
So after that meeting, I made that a mission that whatever I do in this company, I have to learn from all the experts in the company. And I have no problem, admitting that every day I'm learning. Because as a leader, we don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
And there's so many experts. There are people in the company who are so talented. And I value their opinion. And next month, it will be 3 years. And now I'm at a point where I can engage in any conversation with my team members. They feel good. They will bring ideas. If I'm saying something, they don't like it, they're going to say, Meena, this will not work. So we have that relationship of mutual understanding and trust.
So when you moved from being the general counsel, from your law background, and you said you're still practicing, how did it prepare you to take risks at your current business?
As an attorney, we love to do risk mitigation. But in order to do risk mitigation, you have to identify the risk.
Right.
And I found that skill set extremely helpful in Tony Roma's. Part of the reason is, let's say I am trying to structure a deal, and there are many business terms that usually go back and forth. Typically, the decision makers, they would say, we have to talk to our lawyers and get back to you. Or if there is a lawyer on the call,
you're like, I got it, don't worry about it.
So most of the time now what's happening, from Tony Roma's perspective, I always joke because it's reducing the legal bills of the company. I would say, well, this is not how it's going to work. Let's put it this way or that way. So what I'm doing concurrently, I have the legal hat on and my business decision. So it's kind of working in parallel. And it's helping in each meeting that I'm attending. And even if I don't have an answer, I at least know how to go to another lawyer, narrow the scope of work,
and
ask
the
a
right
targeted question. Because what ends up happening is, attorneys make a lot of money. Part of the reason is companies would come and they would ask a very broad question.
Sure.
And what I can do, I don't ask those broad questions. I ask very narrow questions. And I make sure that, I'm getting the answer that I need and not facing a very big legal bills from an outside law firm.
No, that's wonderful. So I want to take a step back and move to your personal life. You got married at 18 years of age and had children very young. For many women, that is the end of their career. Your story was different. Talk to me about that.
Absolutely. I think my personal life is what built me professionally as well. I got married really young at the age of 18, but to the right person. And if you get married to the right person, your life is all set pretty much. And the reason I say that, my husband has the best mentality, temperament, and the support system that is so organic and so natural. As the year of marriage has passed by, and we will be celebrating our 20th anniversary this year, yeah, I've just started to view his support as the most beautiful thing ever. And the reason I say that, because as you said, at the age of 18, when people get married, they think I either have to choose education or career or marriage. Family, There's just a lot of tension. And you're young when you're 18.
Right.
Our, the prefrontal cortex of our brain does not develop until we're 25. And let alone handling a marriage, which requires an immense sense of responsibility. For me, I think it was easy because my partner made it very easy for me. The way he treated me, it was never like a wife. It was an 18-year-old girl who has lots of dreams, very ambitious, yet provide the support system. I usually talk about this one story, when I was an undergraduate student in Georgetown University in Washington, D.C., my husband was in Georgetown Law School at that time. He's brilliant. Before going to law school, he already had 2 masters.
Oh, wow.
So that was his 3rd graduate degree. And he got those 2 masters at a very young age. So when I was an undergraduate student, sometimes there were days when I would be like, oh, I don't feel like going to the class. My husband would say, go to the class. I will be right outside the door sitting with a sandwich. And I thought he'd be joking. And it has happened. I went to the class. I came out during the break. My husband's there with a sandwich. So his level of support that I got over the years, it's simply beautiful. It's not something, I don't take it for granted. It's something that have helped me to flourish in every way possible. From undergrad, I worked in the White House, in the Obama White House. And when I was in the White House, and by that time, my daughter was my already 1-year-old.
Very young.
Very young. I was a White House intern. My daughter was 1 year old. I finished undergrad in Georgetown. Oh, I already started grad program too when I was in the White House. I already did 1 semester of my master's program. My husband again supported me. You should do this. And some of the recommendation, frankly speaking, it came from him. It wasn't like a pressure. It was just a beautiful way of unlocking my full potential, allowing me to see that what's out there and what I'm capable of. When you're living with someone who continuously tells you, seeing your skill set, you can do this. It's amazing. It really is. And when I was in the White House, I remember we had a Q&A session with First Lady Michelle Obama at that time. And I raised my hand and she picked me. So I was really happy that I got picked. One of the questions I asked her, because it was very important to me, my daughter was 23-month old. And I said, how did you balance everything? She's a lawyer, a role model for me, mother of 2 daughters. And she shared some very heartfelt stories. I felt so connected at that very moment. At the end of the Q&A, the First Lady told me, you're a White House intern. You have a young one. Please get some rest. I just loved it. Coming from Michelle Obama and telling me, please get some rest. Extremely motivating. And I came home. I told my husband that, the First Lady told me get some rest. It was... again, another reminder, being in room with people who are role models, who are iconic, who are powerful, who have gone through this path of balancing and getting inspiration directly from them. If I was just doing all these alone, I wouldn't have seen myself in those rooms.
So you talked about Michelle Obama and your interaction with her while you were a White House intern. What did she say to you when you asked her the question, how do you balance it all?
She shared a beautiful story, and that really struck a chord. She shared her experience about going to an interview as a lawyer And by that time, I don't remember whether she already had 2 girls or only one of her daughters. But while she was being interviewed, she couldn't find a childcare. So the assistant of the office was basically asked to stand by the baby carrier. And she took her baby to the interview. That's a very powerful story, right? Because that sums up everything. Like for us, to have career, we need to think about childcare.
Yeah.
We need to have support, whether it's from our family, whether it's from work. We need support. Without support, we cannot have that. We need pure understanding. Pure understanding, again, from family, from work, from friends, someone whom we can lean on.
And trust, yeah. That's how we grow. You grew up in a Bangladeshi immigrant family. How did your upbringing affect your work and who you are today?
Yes, my family's from Bangladesh, and growing up in an immigrant household, you are not only carrying your dreams, you're carrying the dreams of your forefathers.
Yeah.
And you're hearing from your parents, how they envision your life.
Right.
Because they made sacrifices. They left their homeland, what they knew, to come to the United States so that their children can have a beautiful life.
Sure.
So you basically hear that both as a motivation, as a reminder, and as why my parents are here. My parents had to go through many challenges as a first generation immigrant that I don't have to go through. My children will not have to go through. And what it does coming from an immigrant household, I think it really builds character and grit. We are determined. We don't want to give up.
Right.
So when we're facing a challenge, whether it's a corporate challenge or whatever challenge that come your way, you have to find a solution. And that is something I think that was built from my parents' home when I was a child.
And that's what you carry with you when you go to your workplace every day. What is one of the biggest challenges you faced in transitioning the brand?
One of the biggest challenges is getting alignment from multiple stakeholders, franchise partners, the board, employees, everyone that we work with on this vision, the vision of making sure that, we are here for the next 54 years. We build 150 units by 2030. And the franchisees who have been in the system for so long, and, how to get them to re-engage with the brand. And one thing I have figured, some franchisees, who have been here 30 years, 40 years, or close to 50 years, they all have their host of issues, right? Whether a succession planning or whatever it is.
Right.
And when they decide to exit the brand, when they decide to leave Tony Roma's, of course, it's the corporate that usually need to hear that what's going on with the brand. But it is actually like individual circumstances. And for a brand this long, there will be new guards. There will be new operators. I think the challenge is to show the new operators or people who are interested in the brand. The brand has enormous brand equity, a brand that has lasted for 54 years. It's solid. It's resilient.
Right.
Not all brand can promise you the resilience.
Right.
It is aspirational for the new brands, but we have proven resilience over and over again. And to convince the new franchisees coming into the systems, especially when we're trying to sell a franchise, that it is a resilient brand. Do not see a closure of a Tony Roma's and think it's the brand that's doing wrong. It is the individual circumstances.
Right. There's so many things that dictate the success of a company, for sure. So I want to move to our rapid fire round. It's the most fun part of the conversation. A few questions about your background, a few key learnings. So I'll start. Are you ready?
Yes, absolutely.
So one Bangladeshi dish everyone needs to try.
Kachi biryani.
Ew. Pick your favorite. Chotpati, pitha, jhalmuri or fuchka.
Pitha.
Okay. Sweets. Cham cham, mishti doi, sandesh or rasgulla.
That's a tough one. Chom chom.
Okay. One viral food trend that you actually like.
Dubai chocolate.
Ooh, my favorite, my favorite. What would you say to a young Bangladeshi girl watching you today about what's truly possible for her?
If you want something, keep trying. Nothing in the world can stop you because it's all within you. If you really want something, the first question to ask, do I really want it? Do I really want to become something, pursue something? There are more force internally than externally. And you drive that force.
Has your family's perspective changed about you after you've achieved a certain level of success?
I'm sure it did. Or I hope it did. Perspective, I got married young, right? A girl who gets married young at the age of 18 in a South Asian household, sometimes people think that you're going to live a very traditional life.
Right.
Or you're going to pursue education to a certain level and then you will stop or you won't be able to work. And these are choices. Each and every choice is fine. It depends on a person, whichever choice you want to make. But I always say that I have lived 10 lives already. I have, if you look through my background, I have elements of all traditional aspects. At the same time, I am leading a company, an American company, as a global CEO. I'm a practicing attorney. So with different roles that I have done, I really think the younger generation, my younger cousins, my nieces, my daughters, they will hopefully think, you know what, it is possible. It's up to me. There are oftentimes we give a lot of control to the outside world.
Right.
I think my hack was, I figured it out, it was more internal. I need to believe in something strongly enough. There will always be naysayers. There will always be obstacles. But if I believe in something, and if I really stay consistent, nothing in the world can stop me.
So when you do experience self-doubt, what do you tell yourself?
When I experience self-doubt, I always try to think of, I read a lot of autobiographies of all the successful people out there. Self-doubt is not always bad. Sometimes it's a way for self-correction. So what I tell myself, there's always room for improvement. And I am in this journey to improve myself better every single day.
Do you have any practices or things that you do every day just to keep sorted with everything going on with your life?
In terms of practices, not daily. Given my, the time pressure and everything I juggle, not daily, but something is regular. My husband and I, we always try to go on date lunches and date nights. That's a regular for us. We're both lawyers, so we exchange ideas, brainstorm. That's a must. I also, at least 2 or 3 times a week, I take my teenage daughter to cafe and we talk about multiple things over there because in my home, communication is big. With my younger daughter, I love to play with her. My 9-year-old, I make sure that I have time to do that. And that just allows me to stay grounded, frankly speaking, like spending time with my family members. That gives me clarity. We all try to check in with each other. Yeah.
If you had one vision for Tony Ramos, what would that be?
My one vision for Tony Roma's would be, for the last 54 years, we only haven't served foods, we have served memories. And for the next 54 years, I will try to do the same. It will be a place where people will come and they will create the most wonderful memories.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Meena. This was fantastic. I love what you've achieved for yourself and also how you are a role model for other people in the community, especially, growing up in a Bangladeshi family and achieving the American dream, which is, very hard, but you did it in your own ways, on your own terms. And I appreciate you and your journey. Thank you for the conversation tonight.
Thank you so much.